The next storyteller is a man who needs a warm welcome. I do not say lightly after an episode in the mountains and the snow, and we'll hear about that story some other time. But right now, the title of Ted Taylor's story is Preppiness is a Warm Gun. So
you kind of beat me to the punch there on that introduction, and I know Charles was kind of hoping that I would tell that story, one of the more recent vintage. But I think again I'll wait till another warmer time to tell that. So and in fact, the story that I was going to tell tonight, or that I am going to tell tonight, I debated not doing this one either, basically because about 2 or 3 days after I gave the title to Charles, there was that horrendous shooting in Connecticut, and I just thought, it's probably not the best case to tell a story about a gun so close to that. But I think my story does reflect a bit about the insanity of gun culture, so it's worth telling anyway. So basically, my story starts when I was a freshman, about 2 months into my freshman year at university. And I went to school in a state that's known for its compassion and its open-mindedness, and I'm referring, of course, to Arizona. And so Arizona, we all know, is a pretty conservative place. And I was coming from next door in New Mexico, which is a bit more, it's got its own conservative nature, but it's a bit more liberal in a lot of ways. So in fact, living in New Mexico, growing up in New Mexico, I often thought, New Mexico is like the perineum, it's like the taint of the United States. It's essentially, it's between the nuts of Arizona and the assholes of Texas. So I worked hard to get that joke in here tonight. So essentially I was in Arizona, and it was a very conservative school in a very conservative state in a very conservative time in the Reagan 80s. And as I had said, I was, like a lot of people do in those conditions, I joined a fraternity. And so a friend of mine, or not a friend of mine, there was a guy that he formerly had been in the same fraternity, had long since either graduated or dropped out, I'm not sure his situation, but he owned a bar somewhere in Tucson. I'm talking about Tucson now, and he had a bar that was there, and it was a biker bar. Yet, despite this being a biker bar, he had the fraternity letters there behind the bar, up on the wall. And so, then as now, you can't drink alcohol under the age of 21. So, because we knew this guy that owned this bar, we thought, well, this is great, let's go and have a few beers there. So it was this random Saturday night. So myself and these 2 other guys, and these guys I was with, they were fraternity brothers, and they grew up in very moneyed suburbs of San Francisco. So the 3 of us decided to go to this biker bar on a Saturday night, dressed in like this ridiculously preppy clothing. I'm probably wearing the fraternity letters on my chest and things like that. It was just absolutely stupid. So we get in there, and we get a pitcher of beer, and we sit down, and there is an empty pool table there. So we just think, oh yeah, let's play some pool. So we start shooting pool. And not long after we started shooting pool, this big biker guy comes up, and he starts to say, hey man, you guys got to challenge us for that table. And we were thinking, what are you talking about? We have to challenge you for the table. So I think the idea was that we actually had to play a game with them, which we had to pay for, and if we won, we got the table. And if not, then we had to forfeit the table, so we were out the money and the table. So, not such a big deal on the top of it, but one of my friends, this is going back and forth a little bit. One of my friends is getting a little bit testy about it. And then finally he just says, hey man, what the fuck is your problem? To this biker, right? This 18-year-old preppy, suburban kid saying that to this big burly biker dude. So words start to get heated a little bit, but after a couple minutes, again, things start to calm down. So then I noticed that my 3rd friend isn't with us anymore. So this one guy, Mike, and the biker start playing pool. And I'm curious where Ben went, so I look around. I went outside. I found Ben in his truck. He's sitting in the passenger seat of his truck with his glove box open, and he's loading bullets into the chamber of this gun, right? And I was like, Ben, what are you doing, man? And he just said, and he said this, and again, keep in mind this is the Reagan 80s, right? He says in his best kind of Dirty Harry, without intending to be Dirty Harry, he said, well, I figured there's 7 of them, and I got 9 bullets, so I reckon I can miss twice. Thanks, man. So we walk back into the bar, and Ben's got his piece sticking up in the back of his pants. And I don't know what it is, because I'm not a gun person, I have no idea, it was just a gun. And so, you know, Mike and this guy are continuing the pool game. Everything's fine. Everything's calm at this point. So we're sitting there, and this woman comes over to us, and she says, "Are you guys carrying?" And I said, "What?" And she said, "You know, are you guys carrying a gun?" And I was saying, you know, me, the diplomat, no, it's all fine. I said, you know, we just came in for a game of pool, a bit of beer. We're not really looking for any trouble. We don't want any trouble. And she just pointed across the bar at this other guy, and she said, well, you see that scrawny guy over there? He may not look like much, but between me and him, we got 3 kids. And I said, you know, again, I was saying, look, we're fine. We don't want any trouble. So in the meantime, she goes over and probably tells her husband that she suspects that we've got a piece. And he goes over and he tells the big burly biker dude. And suddenly the big burly biker dude pulls out his piece, and he's saying, "You guys packing heat? You guys packing heat? Just feel your hand, man. Just feel your hand." And he's just going on in that kind of vein. And he's pointing the gun at my friend Mike's belly and to Ben's belly and to my belly, saying, "Because I'm going to kill you, and I'm going to kill you, and I'm going to kill you." And then we were just like, "Look, man, we don't want any trouble. We don't want any trouble." So we did, like, you know, we're all cool, like in a movie, you know, we're like in a Tarantino movie. We're just like walking to the door. It's all fine. It's all fine. And as soon as that door closed behind us, we're like booking into the car. We got in the car and drove off as fast as we could. And luckily, that's the last time I've seen a gun. So thanks everybody.